Play, and that's about playing. It's about Lego bricks. It's about training the facilitators which go around and go to different companies to help them to be more creative, innovative. A friend of mine, funny wise, after I reached out to you, I saw that he had an interview with Luca something, which is working in the IT, and
also, he works in Lego.
Yeah, and he works in Lego, and he uses Lego Play about productivity. So I expect to go down that road, and as it's Oliver Schirach showed, the creative mindset or mindfulness, that's what you can expect. We're going to talk about Lego, playing, innovation, creativity, and about Jack the bricks. I just saw one for the ones on YouTube. I have a lot of Playmobil, sorry. Yeah.
Ooh.
sorry guys. I try to sell.
That's a German Lego.
Yeah, it's not as old. It's from the 70s. Probably I should find someone which works with Playmobil and all that stuff. I grew up more with Playmobil because Lego doesn't have so many animals. So that's not something I have to talk about with you. So I had more Playmobil because he had all these different animals.
Okay.
And right now, there's like a circus from Playmobil standing on my desk because I try to sort the things out, take some pictures and sell them, because my kids are only playing with iPlay, and that's really draining because I'm divorced and the kids are 2 or 3 days a week here. And so I try to sell them, not because I don't like it, but... And so now I'm playing, actually. Now, Playmobil Serious Play, for me, it's really awesome for me, actually, to take these sets, go online and find what's actually belonging, sorting out, take some pictures, selling, and then I start to add. I'm actually started with my daughter to make the search images. So we have a few elements from the Playmobil, which we are putting in all the images, and then you have to search for them. And I'm going to make like a story. So that's now...
That's cool.
That's not Lego, but that's just what stands here.
I mean, it's play, right? And it's still play.
It's play, and I honestly don't realize how time passes. And then I'm like, fuck, I should have applied for jobs. I should have done this and that. But while I'm playing, I'm just relaxed and, you're just there and you set up and you try to like, what's the story? I mean, the last pictures I took was with firefighters, police, and a bank. So a robbery and all these things. Anyway, so let's get into this interview. So, Jack, if you have to describe yourself in like 3 words, what are these kind of words to describe you? Mostly now, I would say. And why are you choosing those words?
So it is a super difficult question to start with, right? But one that comes to my mind is curiosity. So that definitely is one of those words. Maybe play could be another.
So playful, huh?
Yeah, curiosity, playfulness, imagination.
Oh, so imagination, yeah. Okay. And what I mean, the curiosity came fast. For me, I have already some ideas why, but why do you consider yourself, curious?
So,
or how did it evolve? Or how did it play out?
I think that I was searching for patterns in how the things that I do connect, because I do a lot of things, and I'm constantly learning new things. And I've gone, of course, I have my main pillars related to work and life, which is my consultancy and Lego Serious Play and the training, but I'm also a magician. And that's what led me to Lego Serious Play in a way. And when I was a magician, I was thinking about how can we help people become more creative? How can we accelerate innovation? But that's just like my main pillars, right? But then if I start to look behind that, what are the things that I've done? So I've played guitar and I've learned to cook. So I have a cooking YouTube channel, and
Oh,
yeah,
we need
yeah,
to link to
and
that.
and I have fermentation. I love fermentation, and I've been learning about mycology. And now, like recently, I've been looking into breeding crickets, right? So
For
yeah,
why would you breed crickets?
I'm not breeding them yet. I'm looking into breeding crickets
But
because I
why?
think that might sorry, why?
Why?
Because I think that might be the future of food.
Back to your cooking, huh?
And I think it's part of the imagination of imagining how the future will look like. And it's about playing with these things and learning and being curious about. And then, so that playfulness is really important too. That's how the second word comes. Because, for example, the cooking show, it's all about, it's called the empirical cuisine of Jack Reimon. So it's about learning while making, right? So it's about being playful and fun. So that's the approach that I take to the things that I do. Um, and of course, Lego Serious Play is super clear because it's like, it really represents the playfulness, the imagination, the curiosity of just building with your hands. But if you look behind, everything in my life is related to that.
Okay. How have you been as a kid? The same? Did you do 100 things all the time, or?
Of course, right now I'm not doing everything at the same time, but I've gone through all these stages, and that means that I'm super curious and looking into this stuff. And I think that the reason I became a magician was because of curiosity. I think that I was that kind of kid, and you probably can relate to this, that likes to open small things and look what's inside, right? So I don't know, maybe opening a watch and trying to assemble it back together. And maybe I never could assemble it back again, but it was more about what?
You really took a watch apart? I never dared to take a watch apart.
I mean, probably, right? Or maybe taking a Nintendo apart, right? What's inside, right? So it was asking these questions of what's behind this, right? What are these things made of? And probably that's the reason I like magic in the first place, because when people ask me what's your profession, I would say I'm a magician, because that's who I'm really are. I'm a magician, not only as a performer, but also in the way I think about life and the way I think about the human mind and the way I hope to transform people's lives with the things that I do, right?
You one part I understand is the magician part is like to understand how does the trick work. Probably that's why you wanted to learn.
Guess so, right?
and to make people wonder and
Yeah.
to make people what's the word? I have a word, but it doesn't really come to mind. I don't find the right word. Yeah,
Astonishment,
astonish
or
people and to make them feel like wow, and
yeah.
just yeah. So yeah,
So
I think one of the words could also be magician, right? Curiosity, playfulness.
it could be magician, absolutely. I think that the wow factor is important. One of the reasons I like serious play so much is because there is some sort of wow factor happening in your head while you build and find the answers. Uh, and some of the reasons I like to learn about crickets is because it's so weird that people just wow, right?
Yeah, yeah. So did you eat crickets?
I have.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
do that regularly because I don't have enough. But I've tried them and they're okay. I think it's more of a nutritional factor rather than a delicacy. I haven't had enough to like make a super nice dish, right? But again, like Noma in Denmark, right? They're cooking crickets and worms, and
Yeah, but that's
that's not top restaurant in the world.
it's I think Norman is in Copenhagen, so I haven't
It
really.
is in Copenhagen, yeah.
Yes, it's 4.5 hours, 5 hours for me to get there.
Oh, so
I'm
you're in the other edge of the country.
Yeah, I am on the other side. For now, I gave up the apartment because I have the feeling I need to move. So let's see where life is bringing me. there's always a solution, even though you don't know it. There's a path even though you don't see it at the moment. So who knows if I end up in Copenhagen at the cuisine? But that's very interesting here. Curiosity, playfulness, imagination. Of course, that all for me plays all into the serious play Lego. Let's see how you, now that you're so curious and playful and magic, if you would be a new color in a coloring set, what color would you be and why? It doesn't have to be red, green, blue. It can also be whatever, transparent or glitter sparkle.
Yeah. So there's this. Of course, I think that I usually wear like black and this kind of colors. It's just easier for me. Actually, like sometimes I get a little bit more curious in something, like for example, colognes, right? So now I have like 5 colognes because I'm curious with smells. I love coffee, for example, and I like the factor of just tasting coffee, right? So smells is something important. But now that I have 5, I get a little bit anxious, right? What will I wear today, right? So black doesn't really, I really like it because it's easy for me. Just black t-shirt, jeans, boots or shoes, right? But that's not the color that came to my mind when you asked this question. Because although I could see myself as black in a way because of what I wear, the color I thought was, I remember having a coloring set when I was a kid, and there was this Turkish bluish greenish color called robin's egg blue.
Robin's egg blue?
Yeah. So the robin, the little bird, the robin lays eggs, and the eggs are colored in a bluish turquoise kind of color.
Yeah.
And I really love that color. And I love the tone of blue green, but I love the fact that the name was robin's egg blue. So that like naming a color based on something like so specific and weird, and then like I learned about robins because I saw the color, right? I learned that robins laid blue eggs because of this color. So that led to a path of discovery, and that probably I would choose that kind of color. There's this curiosity and mystery behind, right?
Yeah, this finding out in a playful way. I definitely can see that with you, at least so far. This seems to be like your path.
Yeah, I think that the word curiosity is super linked to mystery, right? And mystery is super linked to magic. So there was this mystery aspect of that color and a playful way to name it. So probably I would choose that. Yeah.
Yeah, curiosity, mystery, magic, playfulness, imagination. So there's more than 3 words to describe you, but
I know
interlinked. They're interlinked somehow. But that's good. That's why I ask those questions. I find out a bit more, and the listeners get a little bit a broader palette. So this show is not like going straight into the deep things. It's more like also about the people behind, because we're all human, right?
Yeah, and I like these questions. I appreciate that because it makes me think about myself, which is also nice.
Yeah, let's hope I'm not making you think too much about yourself, and then the whole day you're going to be like wondering, like, who am I? Yeah. So now I'm scared. Now, do you have any secret or fun fact people do not really know about you, just the close family or whatever you would like to share?
Not really.
Not really. There's no weird. I mean, of course, you shared the cricket that you want to have, like cricket breeding. That could be, of course, a fun fact. So
it might be. I mean, it's something that I'm looking into, right? So I feel that the fact that I've been looking into that's more about me than the crickets itself, right? But I haven't hit this topic to my friends or my family, right? So it's not like a secret.
Fun fact. I mean, fun fact is also,
fun fact. Yeah. No, To
You
be
have a lot
honest,
of things behind you there. So in your shelf
oh yeah,
behind you.
I have a fun fact. Yeah, now that you mentioned this, so I really like taxidermy.
Taxi what?
So stuffed animals.
Stuffed animals.
So
Okay.
I don't have enough. I don't have a lot, but I have maybe 3, 4. So I have a little fish here, a piranha
Yeah,
on
I can.
top.
Oh, that's a piranha. Is it
Yeah.
painted gold or is that the original color?
No, that's the original color. Maybe it's put in a in a box, and the box inside is blue. So maybe it
Contrast.
shows, yeah, the contrast. So there's also behind me, right there. There's a little, like here. There's a little bird.
Oh, I see
Uh,
hands. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a hand, but next to that there's a hand
Yeah.
pointing to a little bird, and then somewhere here you don't see it here. There's a little. This is a weird oddity. Like that's a forehead duck. You want to
Okay.
see that? I can
Just
show
show it.
you.
We
I can
don't
show
see it.
you. This is a weird thing, right? This is a weird forehead-headed duck.
Duckling, yeah, like a
Yeah,
small one. Oh my God.
super weird. And I like that. So the walls in my house are painted black, at least in the living room, right? So right here it's black and the ceiling is black. And I like the fact that when people come home, they feel like, oh, this is the Adams family.
Yeah, you're definitely mysterious as well. I mean, you say mystery, curiosity. So
Yeah,
how
yeah.
comes this? Are you these stuffed animals? Did you go for them, or you just saw them and said, "I need to have that"?
So of course, I really like to be. Oh, there's another one. There's a little wolf here.
I see the
There.
head.
Yeah.
Yes.
So of course, I don't know. I just liked it, and I started getting when I was able to get one. So of course, I buy them from specialized stores. And these are just like entry level taxidermy. Like I don't have a huge goats, right? Yeah, exactly, grizzly bear. So they started, there's some like ethically sourced stores, and I like how they look, right? Of course, I cannot hang a deer in the wall, right? It's too much. But little things
Okay.
that
Yeah.
usually are ethically sourced and they look weird, and create this sort of, of curiosity around them. I just like them.
Yeah, but
So
it plays into the whole picture I started getting from you.
yeah.
And you live in South America, so that's, I mean, and yeah, and the painting behind you with the dog head, like this
Oh, exactly,
French.
exactly,
It looks like a
exactly.
Napoleon with a dog head or something like that.
Yeah, or like a Spanish conquistador, right? With
Yeah, exactly.
and this is a nod to, like, it's kind of making fun to those old traditions of people hanging all these pictures on their homes. So
Yeah, but yeah, I definitely I'm amused. Let's put it that way. I'm intrigued. And I know you said you're in South America, so the piranha,
yeah.
I was in Ecuador, whatever, some 20 years ago, and we were fishing piranha.
Okay.
So that's why.
Have you tried piranha?
No, because when we were, it was low tide, so
Okay.
it was not the raining season, so the river was too low. So they said they have a lot of parasites.
Oh, okay.
Right, and there were like, I think, 3 different types of piranha. I didn't even know there's different types of piranha. It was in Ecuador, in the Amazon, and they said normally the one type you can eat, but now that the tide is so low, the parasites are jumping between all the different piranhas. So I haven't tried it. Are they any
Good
good?
to know. I've tried a little bit. So I went to this nice restaurant, and here in Peru, that they were serving like this piranha skin delicacy thing, right? So it was okay. I mean,
Okay. Yeah, no. So next time I go to South America, probably have to think of it.
yeah.
When I was in Vietnam, I was offered to drink snake blood or to even eat snake. So
Oh,
who is
did you try
disturbing?
that? Sorry.
No, I didn't try that, but I was offered when we were in a restaurant.
So it's my wife and my daughter. They are leaving. But my wife, she wasn't looking at this. She was with her phone and was about to get inside.
Doesn't matter. It's after the Corona situation, we are used that people are home, and it doesn't have to be.
I know. Yeah. But it's making sure that she knows that I'm doing this.
Yeah, you could also just watch YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Yes, but let's go on then. And you already started to talk a little bit into your background in the beginning. So what you're doing now, before we started recording, you started explaining, trainer, facilitators, legoseriousplay. So what is it you're now doing actually as work, and how did you get there, if there's any path besides what you already shared?
So my let's call it my business core is legoseriousplay. And I try to balance both the client work that I do, the facilitation that I do with specific clients who need a specific solutions, but I'm also a trainer. So this is a facilitator trainer duality that I have. Probably I've been doing more trainings lately in the past few months, because that's one of the, I think it's lately the thing that I've been doing the most. I try to balance both, but it's also fun to be a trainer because I get to travel a lot, so to all over the world, training new facilitators. So how did I become a trainer? Of course, I started as a facilitator. So it was probably 12 years ago, maybe 13 years ago, that I learned about legoseriousplay through a magician friend, to be honest. Yeah. So I was working in a workshop called Magic and Technology. So I was an advisor for this 30 artists that were developing technology that was indistinguishable from magic. So I don't know if you know anything about Arthur C. Clarke, so the author. So he wrote a lot of fiction and non-fiction books, and one of his non-fiction books is called Profiles for the Future. And he talks about his vision about the future and how you can basically the vision he has for the future, and what are the things, like the main guiding things that can show you or lead you or direct that things are changing into a specific future. And one of the maxims or rules that he has is that any sufficiently advanced technologies is indistinguishable from magic. So based on that quote, this workshop was developed. And artists went to create technology that looked like magic. So I was there as an advisor. I was the magician advisor. During that point in my life, I was, of course, doing magic. I was performing as a magician, and I performed as a magician too. But I was also developing this company called Igno Magic, which is my personal company that relates magic and innovation. So how can we think as magicians to accelerate innovation? So I was developing my own framework back then. And while I was working in this workshop, I met this guy called Stuart Nolan. And Stuart, brilliant man. He was also a magician, but he's much more than a magician, of course. Also, he's a curious man and intelligent and wise and well-read. I mean, just an amazing person. And he mentioned Lego Serious Play. He just mentioned Lego Serious Play, and I was like, wow, what's that? So how does Lego and how does play can help me, or the Lego brick or play can help me, or help me help others become more creative? So that's the initial understanding that I had. Like, so he told me he was trained by Per, so I looked for Per. Per trained me, but I also became good friends with Per. So we started to develop not only a friendship, but also a business relationship, because I started working with him and organizing trainings for him in Peru. So he started mentoring me, and he mentored me up to, well, he still mentors me in a way, right? But he mentored me, and so I could become a trainer too. So first I started as a facilitator, and while being a facilitator, I was building this business relationship with Per, and I was facilitating my own workshops, working with my own clients, with all their tools, of course, but Lego Serious Play started becoming quite a core in my business. And then I just started learning more from him until I became a trainer for the Association of Master Trainers. So the Association of Master Trainers is the organization that Per Christensen and Robert Rasmussen co-founded. And I became a member of the association. So only trainers are members, right? So we're right now 14, but soon we'll be 18 trainers. So I became a trainer, and I started delivering trainings, and I became partnered with Per. So that's why right now I'm doing more trainings, traveling the world. We're very few trainers, of course, of the Lego Serious Play method. And right now I'm here in Lima because I don't have to travel in July, but hopefully in August I'll start traveling again. So to be honest, like from probably March to June, I was home for like a week, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
But you are from Peru originally, or
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure with the name Jack Reimon. So for me, it didn't sound South American, but
I mean, some people feel that I've had people thinking that it was Danish.
Danish?
And it's not, yeah, exactly. And
because of course Lego
thing.
Serious Play, right?
Exactly, right? So what sort of Danish man is it, like? And that.
No, the dialect is definitely not Danish. I'm used to.
I know it's not.
I was just thinking what you said in Peru. So it's hablas español, huh?
Sí.
Sí. Tampoco.
Oh.
No mucho. And we're not going down that road because I've not used. When I was in Ecuador, I could speak to the people, but not really using it in Denmark. So
you need to practice sometimes, right?
I would actually love to speak more Spanish and Italian again, and French, and just like it, speaking different languages. I'm actually feeling like a different person when I speak a different language.
Absolutely. I think that speaking a different language changes something in your brain. It really makes you think in a different way.
That's true. Now, when just that I opened that kind of worms, when I speak Italian, I use my hands much more, and I don't know. I don't know. It's just so much more energy speaking Italian. Spanish has a different energy, but I was in Ecuador, right? So it's like more the South American. Compared to the Spanish. And French for me was the first time I went away from home, living by myself in Lausanne, French-speaking university. I'm Swiss, so I come from the German-speaking part.
Oh, okay.
Nevertheless, I mean, I had like I could see the French border from my gymnasium when I looked out. So and I could also see Germany from the So Basel is really on the corner, and it just where my mom lives. Last year I was there to visit, and I was just jumping left and right. Switzerland, France, Switzerland, France.
That's cool.
So that's how I grew up. But I studied in the French-speaking part, so that's kind of like another part, right? And it's the first language I learned besides German. And for me, English is just like, it's my daily language. It's international communication. Danish is very hard for me. For whatever reason.
It is hard.
Yeah, but you live in South America. Come on. I mean, don't expect.
But I work.
to learn
But I
Danish.
work. I've been working for almost 10 years with Danes.
But still, I mean, it's another thing. It took me very long to learn Danish, but also because Danes are very good in English, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I can see it with my daughter, which is 11, and son 8. Of course, they speak very well English because I speak a lot of English instead of Swiss German. But I can see around their friends also, because in the old days, the TVs are not dubbed to Danish. They're just subtitles. So the Danes are used to hear whatever original language the movie is in, mostly English, right? So they're at least used to hear English.
Yeah.
And then it's also easy to answer. Where about Germany, Switzerland, you have dubbing, and also South America, French. But that's one of the reasons. So that took long, being an engineer, working engineering, working with AMG Daimler for me. Then I was working in German and English, and then trying to learn Danish.
Yeah.
And that on a business level, right? As an engineer, then you misunderstand so many things, and that wasn't a good thing. It's a different situation if you're like a kindergarten worker or social worker. Then I think it's easier. It's not so bad. Anyway, but let's close that about being a different person, speaking different languages. So what is, now that we know you're there, you're a facilitator, you're a trainer, what is Lego Serious Play about? Right? Why is it? I mean, you said 12 years, 13 years, it's kind of like when it started. So it started in Lego.
So Lego Serious Play started a little bit more than 20 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Exactly. So so it started because there was a need inside Lego. So the owner of Lego, I'm trying to summarize this story, right?
We go deeper with Per, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, perhaps. So, I mean, I've been working with Per, and I've been involved with Lego Serious Play for about 13 years, and I became a trainer and partner with Per. But I am not there from the beginning, right? Yeah. Per and Robert, they've been there, right? So the owner of Lego had a need inside the company. So the world was changing fast, kids were playing differently, and the classic strategic planning or plans or the strategic consultancy was not actually working with them. So he felt the urge and the need to do something about it. So he hired a couple of professors to think about strategy and what was the kind of strategy that Lego needed to move forward or move towards their aspirations, right? So these professors, they started to playing around with some different concepts that were not the most popular concepts back then, but some concepts regarding to emergent strategy and resource-based strategy and how can we make decisions in a different way. So they had an idea of what Lego could do, but then it was difficult to do it unless you had some sort of, let's call it, means to imagine. And they were like, hey, but you have your Lego bricks, right? And if you say that your Lego bricks do what you say they do, like accelerate innovation, help people learn faster and all that, and it does it really good with children, maybe it can do it with grown-ups and in a business setting. And that was like, maybe we should try this. So they started to incorporate this strategic ideas and using the Lego bricks to build that process. So that's the little introduction to where the need comes from, right? So it wasn't Lego saying we need to create a method for strategy, right? So it was more Lego saying we need a strategy for ourselves.
Yeah, where do we go? Because otherwise we are not going to be there anymore.
Exactly. And
how and the story is also that Lego was really at the point. Some Danes say it was like 1 week or 2 weeks, and then Lego would have had to close, and then some things happened and they turned around.
Perhaps, yeah. So they were like really, they were struggling a little bit, right? So after a couple of years, because it wasn't super fast, right? So the owner of Lego decided to create a company called Executive Discovery, and the company was like the little startup that developed this method. And the development wasn't to create a tool that they would sell, it was to solve their own issues and problems. So it worked after a couple of years, right? After new people joined and they studied this, and Robert Rasmussen joined and Per Christensen, so they were building on this method and it worked. And they loved it. And they say, hey, we should do this more inside of the company, right? So they started doing that more inside of the company. And then they decided to create a Lego Serious Play office inside Lego. So now Lego will handle Lego Serious Play, because maybe we can train facilitators in all over the world so they can share this tool to other companies, because it's so nice and so great. So they started doing that. And after a while, they thought that, hey, we're not really a consultant company, we make toys. So I don't think that we should own an office that delivers a training. So Lego closed the Lego Serious Play office in a way. And that's when Robert and Per, as being part of this and been managing this for years, they decided to found the Association of Master Trainers in the Lego Serious Play method. So this association was developed to, let's call it, to protect and develop the Lego Serious Play method. Because Lego wasn't going to do that anymore, so the association was created to protect and keep developing the Lego Serious Play method. Of course, the association now owns the manual, but the brand is owned by Lego. Right?
Yeah, it's like Lego World and Lego Land. It's kind of, it's not Lego which is running the Lego Lands anymore. It's another company. They started it, but it's another company, but it's the name Lego. So it's basically going back to the core business and consulting, but still have some kind of shares. And it
was going back to the core business, and it wasn't. So of course the model is not the same as in Legoland, but basically they own the brand, and the association owns the IP for the manual, right? So trainers in the association, we are members of the association, but it's not exactly the association that delivers the training. So it's the trainers with our own companies under the auspices of the association. So we're using the manual from the association to deliver our own trainings. So trainers have their own companies. So with Per and I, we have Trivium. Of course, we're not the only partners there. There's also Jens, who's another trainer. And actually, Jens was in the first group of facilitators ever trained in the world by Lego, right? So he's also part of Trivium. Core, Per's brother, is also part of Trivium. And we have Fabrizio from Italy and Andrea, who's also part of the Trivium family. And of course, there's all the people that I've mentioned, they're not all trainers. Per, Jens, and I are the only trainers. Fabrizio, Andrea, Core, they are facilitators. So they focus more on facilitators. We probably focus more on trainings. But I've only mentioned 3 trainers, and we're like 14, right? So probably Robert has his own company, and Chris from Singapore has her company, and Kristen from Canada has her company.
Okay, so this is a whole complex thing. Like, it started in Lego. They said, we're not a consultancy. So Per and Robert took it. They have their own association of master trainers, where they have the method and the framework and the manual how to do it. And then you have trainers with their own company. And so there's like several companies, but together you're only like, what you said, 18 trainers in total?
Yeah, 14, we're going to be like 18 soon.
Yeah, 18, but not hired from the same company. They are from different companies, but working together with Association of Master.
Exactly. So we have their own different companies, but we're members of the Association of Master Trainers.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're colleagues and partners in that, because the association is a non-for-profit organization. So we're basically there to protect the method and to keep developing it, right?
Okay. Yeah, and then so everyone
that's what the
else
association does. And we have this manual. So if you wanna, because you're a member, then you will deliver the training as your own company, right?
Okay, so now we have like the whole how it was built and what it is. So yeah, it was many products, processes, and things are basically developed because of someone tries to solve their own needs, a company or a person having a problem and like, okay, I need to find a better solution for that. And that's another story.
And I think it's a much better approach, right?
Yeah, finding another approach, finding a new product, whatever it is, right? I mean, as I told you, I was making my creative box out of a 60-year-old wooden box, and now I have drawers made the old way. Yes, I used plastic rails on the side instead of wood because it's holding longer, but else it's kind of like you did it in the old days. And the man I work with, he has an old Porsche 944, 928, whatever, one with the flip eyes, and he has just like remade the whole thing because he said the engine was too weak. So now let's put a bigger engine. Okay, the clutch is too weak. Let's put a bigger clutch, and so on and so forth. So for his needs, he created his own Porsche.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So, and that's creativity, right? Innovation. And that's what this podcast originally was about. And I was sliding a bit into the mystical, and might be I'm pulling the mystical back in because let's see if we get to those questions, because I want to focus more on Lego Serious Play. What is it? I mean, now we know where
we know a little bit of the story, right?
Yeah. So now we have that. Now we have that part for the people. So what is Lego Serious Play used for, right?
Yeah.
For whom is it, and what is the process? You know, I've heard there's like 4 steps and these things. So how do we get in there? So for whom is it?
So I think that I'm going to give you what we. So of course this is a complex thing, right? Because it's a method, but it's a language, and it's a mindset, and it's a practice. So it's a big thing, right? Per had this nice metaphor around yoga. So yoga is a practice, but also it's a mindset and the values behind that, right? In a nutshell, and the easy way that I like to put what Lego Serious Play is that Lego Serious Play is a facilitated method for thinking, communication, and solving complex problems that works with individuals, teams, and organizations.
Individuals, teams, and organizations. So I could learn from you, and then for solving my problems at home, as Oliver Schirach, as myself, use Lego Serious Play.
So this is what Lego Serious Play is, right? So let's go to the beginning of this phrase, right? So it's a facilitated method. So it requires a facilitator who helps you think, communicate, or solve any complex issue that you have, right?
Okay, so we could have a one-on-one session.
And it works with individuals, so you can have a one-on-one session. It works with teams, so teams that want to collaborate better, teams who want to become the best possible team.
What's the size there when you talk about a team? 3 people to 15, 20, or what is the size you normally work with?
Maybe a couple is a team, right?
Yeah, okay. So from 2 people up to what, 100, or what have you seen?
So of course there are teams that are made of 50 people. Let's go into let's answer this in a different direction. So usually we say that one facilitator can work with up to 12 people. But that doesn't mean that there are not teams that are larger than that. Let's say that there's a team of 24 people. So what we would probably do is just have 2 facilitators.
Yeah, exactly.
It will still, we'll consider it a team, but we'll have more facilitators, right? So yes, it can work one-on-one, on teams from 2 to, I don't know, 12 people, but teams that they have a specific need, which is become better as a team, right? And when I say organizations, I say more like organizational issues. So organizations that want to develop a new strategy, a specific solution, a new vision, X, Y, or Z, right? As a facilitators, we want to break down what's not helping people to unlock their full potential, their full knowledge, right? Or to make them collaborate, like what we say, create 100 meetings. And a meeting that's 100 is those meetings where everyone is putting their full potential into finding that specific solution. So what is not 100 meeting? So we call that a 20-80 meeting. And a 20-80 meeting is where 20% of the people spend 80% of the time talking, or they use at most 80% of the potential in the group. So that's a classic meeting, right? Someone talks, and the rest are just there sitting, wasting their time, right? So 100 meeting means where everyone is deeply involved and engaged and putting their full potential into this specific topic. And the other thing is think differently too. So what we say, it's breaking the habitual patterns of thinking. So when organizations want to unlock, or teams want to unlock their full potential, create this 100 meeting, like leaning in and be fully engaged and thinking differently, then Lego Serious Play is a great idea. Of course, the facilitator will help them unlock this potential, collaborate, and think differently. And they will use the play, the imagination, the hands-brain connection to do that, right? That allows this to happen. So the facilitator will probably go to a meeting with a specific client. Maybe it's an individual, right? Maybe it's a leader who wants to become a better leader. And the facilitator will design a roadmap, a script, or a workshop that will allow that leader to unlock their full potential and find a solution in themselves to become a better leader. And they find the solution because the facilitator is asking the right question in the right manner to allow the participant to build their answers and learn their answers. The same with a team, right? Maybe it's a team that wants to collaborate better. So I will probably understand what's wrong with this team and what's been happening and what's the dynamics. And then I'll probably design a roadmap. Oh, maybe I can ask this and then this. So if they unlock this knowledge, in the end, they will get to this solution. And the solution could be what will help us be more engaged or collaborate better, right? Of course, the process, it's a learning process, right? So while they build, they start to learn and understand. So this solution that they reach in the end or through the process is something that they take with them in their own hearts, right? And organizational issues in the same way. Let's say that it's a company who wants to develop, I don't know, 5 strategies to beat our competitors, right? And they will, yeah, for example, right? So they will call us and say, okay, so I have a new competitor and they are like killing it. They're the greatest, like they're doing everything great and we're losing a big chunk of market share. I don't know what to do. So probably we'll meet with the client and understand so they want this, but do they want to collaborate to find a solution? Do they want to unlock the full potential? Do they want to think in a different way? Probably they will say yes, right? But maybe they say yes, I'll just need to ask if they really want that, right? Because some managers say, yeah, I want to unlock the full potential, but in the end, I want them to learn what I know, right? So that's not really unlocking the potential.
So that's like before you even start with the Lego Serious Play. It's kind of like before that, you want to make sure that they really are open for change or adoption. Or is that only
Yes.
something you find out during the play?
No. I have to know beforehand. Yeah.
you have to know before that.
Yeah. If they're open for that kind of change, if they're open to think in a different way, if they're open to unlock the potential to have 100 meetings. So I have to make sure that that's what they want. I know that they want a solution, but I want to know if they want it in this way. Because wanting the solution in this way means that they have a leadership mindset in a way, right? They know that the answer is anchored in the people in the team, and they know that by letting people talk, they will create a more sustainable business, and they know all these things, right? Deep, they know this deeply, right?
This what you say is just resonating very strong with me when I did my master thesis, because I looked at the framework from my supervisor, or I chose I there was like grabbing the lightning, and there was IDEO's framework, and I'm just like, okay, what do I take? So I took my teacher's framework, which is a continuous innovation creation loop. With the idea that once a year going to a nice fancy resort and find all these ideas is not how innovation works, right? Yeah. Because then you come back and you forget, and who is responsible. So if you have like this framework of continuously creating ideas, and then you create the ideas, then you work on ideas, you throw ideas away, right? Because they don't work. Yeah. And for me to find the company to work in, unfortunately, I didn't think of Lego. I have no idea what how I could not have been thinking of that. That was 2015. Okay. For half a year was searching. I looked at Bang Olufsen because they were announcing the innovation hub, and I couldn't do my master on innovation. I was surprised, right? But I worked with a local company, and exactly what you say was what my supervisor said. Okay, you can go on with this company, because they said, we do not know of an issue per se, but please come and analyze and look how we can do business better. Right, so we are open for it. But in the end, they were not ready for the change. Right, we created all these ideas, but nothing happened.
Yeah, and yeah. So if you're not open for that kind of change, if you're not, and maybe you say that you're open for change, but in a different approach, and with a different approach, it doesn't mean the Lego in itself. It means the fact that some managers, they think they have the answers, so they want to change, but they want people in the team to learn the answer from the manager.
Okay, so the manager is right, and I want to make sure that they understand that I'm right.
Exactly.
So, but how now we go a bit off tangent here, but I'm really interested. This is more like, creativity mastery, productivity mastery, understanding people. So how do you have any framework or process you find out that actually your potential clients are saying they're open, but they're not? Or is that just something you learned over time, and you're like, oh, I have this really feeling?
So I just ask the questions. So sometimes you will listen words like, I don't have a specific framework for this, but I can listen to some specific words. Right. So things like, I want to have my team to learn this solution, right? Or I want, so if I listen to that and say, what, I'm not saying that he's wrong. I'm just saying that maybe Lego Serious Play is not the right method in that case, right? So maybe I have another method that will allow that, right? A more teaching approach, more top-bottom approach, right? Which is fine. We're not saying that's wrong. We're saying that's different, right? Maybe we listen to words like sensibilize. We want to sensibilize the team to understand, right? You will just listen things that are like little red flags, and if I listen to those red flags, I'll just ask directly, oh, so do you have an answer already? And they might say yes, I do have, like, for example, imagine that it's a company that wants to develop a new vision, right? Or they say they want to develop a new vision, or at least they say that it's a vision workshop. And I'm saying vision because it's just a broad example and classic. And I can just ask, so do you have a vision already? And yeah, it's what's written on the website. I want them to learn this. So Lego Serious Play is about building and having everyone collaborate and create something, right? So using their full potential.
So
then
what
maybe,
are the words?
yeah.
What are the words you're looking for? What is the mindset you look for? So who is it for?
Courageous leaders who are willing to listen to everyone to find a better solution.
So like collaboration, people which look for collaboration.
Yeah,
and
we want to collaborate to find this solution, because there's not a specific word, because they're just words that can be red flags, and I just need to ask more, right?
Yeah.
So, but in general, it's that they want to build something with a team, and what I feel is that they understand that they know the potential is in the team.
Okay.
They know that they have the answers, but they just need something to unlock those answers.
Okay, so they have the feeling there is an answer, but what is it exactly? And let's see, and let's use all the different knowledges. And that's great.
And in a way, to do our Lego Serious Play workshop with a client, there has to be a need, right? so if there has to be the need to move somewhere, right? So they need to want to change or move from A to B. If there's no need there, then there's no workshop to be done. Of course, that doesn't mean that I, as a consultant, I can go into the company and do my research and understand and find the problem and offer them a specific solution. No, not specific, and offering them the path to find a solution for that, and then might agree, right? But we have to figure out before the workshop what is that need that we're solving, because that's the seriousness of the play. So the serious play is the fact that there's a purpose behind. We want to find something in particular.
Yeah. So that was also a question I had in the head. So once it's for who is it, and now you said it's for the ones which are open and say collaboration, and we work together, find a solution. And there needs to be a question, like a specific question to be answered, or a need.
A need.
Yeah. Often that need comes in some kind of question, or do you form, like when you do the serious play, let's say now you have the client, one person, a team, or the organization, and you get going in the workshop. How do you start? Are there some warm-up questions like I do in the podcast, or are you just go straight into the need?
So of course, when you start a workshop with Lego Serious Play and people see these, it can create different things in their minds, right? Some people, and for different reasons, right? Some people might say, I've never played with this. Some people might feel this is for children, right? There's other kind of people that might say, ooh, I have no clue about this topic. It's not related to the break, more about the topic, right? There's some people that might say something like, oh, I know a lot about this topic. Some people that don't really like to talk in public or whatever. So people go inside of a workshop with different feelings and understandings. So we start a workshop with something that's called a skills building. And we have to build their skills, but not only their skills, but also create a safe environment for them to collaborate and unlock their full potential. So skills building allows us to create that safe environment and build their own skills for building with bricks, so they feel safe with the bricks, sharing, so they feel safe sharing, using metaphors, so they feel safe using metaphors, and building stories, so they feel safe with the stories. So
that's the first step.
Yeah, so that's the beginning. That's like some people, maybe not in Lego Serious Play, but some people will call that like a warm-up, right? We are very specific with our language. That's fine, right? But in a way, it could be some sort of, it's not a warm-up per se, right? But it's what you do for getting people into the flow of the workshop, to create a social contract where everyone knows we're going to share and we're going to listen to each other, and we'll have a chance to like really open up safely. And to do that, you need to feel safe with the metaphors, with the method itself, with the sharing, with all that, right?
Okay, Lego Serious Play warm-up.
And we call it skills building.
Yeah, skills building. Yeah, but okay, so that's how you start up, and I can see, yeah. And that's also why I have my questions in the beginning to kind of, if I don't know the person, and we didn't really talk in person before, just to slide in and
Exactly.
Okay.
So create a space, right? So we're building this space where we can talk and really share and be comfortable sharing, right?
Exactly.
So that's what skill building is doing, right? If you don't do that, when you get into the actual workshop, people will not really understand the bricks and will not be able to share, or people will actually might restrain themselves, or they will not behave properly, because some people just want to talk too much. And that's not full collaboration, right? Because some people might hijack this conversation. So creating this social contract is super important for people to be in the necessary flow to unlock their potential, create 100 and think differently.
Yeah, of course. In the 12, 13 years you've been doing that as facilitator and trainer, how many times did you do the mistake that you didn't have this kind of skill building?
At the beginning, I might have done it, yeah.
And is there anything coming in mind? I mean, you said people are locked down. Was there any one event where you said, damn, I need to make this skill building and set the space in the beginning, because that experience I do not want to have anymore?
So I don't think there was one moment, at least for me, that things fell apart, that I was like, ooh, I have to do this. But it was just because, of course, I in the beginning I knew this is important, right? But sometimes you start to become flexible, right? Say, oh, maybe I just skip this, right? Because I don't have enough time, or maybe I can change this. But when you started doing that, maybe nothing will happen. But also, it wasn't the greatest workshop, right? So what was wrong, right? So what happened there? And it wasn't a shitty workshop. It was just weird something. So what can I do? And then you start being more fundamentalist with the skills building and start to see the change and start seeing that, wow, that was different. What made it different? And then you notice that skills building was paramount for that success.
Okay, yeah. So it was a gradual thing. Okay, so now you have the space.
I mean, it was a gradual thing in terms of not me doing the skills building. It was gradual for me in terms of understanding how powerful the skills building is.
Yeah, that's how I understood, right? It's sometimes you think like, I know it. And then until you really, really get the framework or the steps in place, you realize, wow, I thought I knew what I'm doing. I didn't, but now I know these are the little notches I have to change. And I'm not jumping over here because the watch is ticking, but I just have these two people which have not really gotten, so I'm just trying again.
Yeah.
And just when I do that, this might just make the whole thing so much better. Beautiful. So now we have that skill set. We have the warm up, the space. What is happening after that?
You build.
You build.
So that's. Let me.
So is that where the 4 steps? Is that where the 4 steps come?
I'm gonna take this in different ways, right?
Okay.
Of course, what happened next is super related to the need of the client, right? But there's something that will always happen next. You also will adapt this to the need of the client, but there's this content element and this technique element. So as you've probably read, there's the 4-step core process, but we also have the 7 application techniques. So the 7 application techniques are the modular techniques that we use to unlock a specific solution, right? So we mix and match these techniques. The core process is inside each of those 7 techniques. So you do the core process on the first, on what we call the AT1, the application technique 1. And you also do the core process on the application technique 2, and also in the application technique 3. But the client need will tell me if I'm going to do an 81 and an 83 or an 81 and an 82, right? So I will always be doing the core process, but the techniques that I will choose are depend on the client's need. After the skills building, you always start with an 81, because the 81 is the unlocking the individual knowledge, right? So I don't know what the question of the 81 will be, because that's a content wise that's related to the need of the client, but I know that it will be an 81, right? Because for them to create this 100 space, everyone needs to unlock their full potential, right? So that's I'm gonna do a technique wise an 81, but then the content of that will be dependent on the client's needs. And then the other techniques that I will add will depend, of course, on the need and the time that I have and the amount of people on the workshop. So there might be workshop that is just 81, 81, 81, 81, 81, 81. There might be workshop that it's 81, 81, 82, 81. Or a whatever kind of mix.
Yeah. So, right? So basically it's Lego bricks. So the whole process is also like bricks, so, because you put them so they fit to the needs of the situation. Actually,
so a way that we can that we used to explain on the trainings, we use bricks to explain the modular technique. So let's say, okay, we're going to start with the skills building, right? And then we're going to do an 81, right? But maybe I do a second round of 81, and then maybe I do an 82, right? So this is how I'm building my roadmap.
Okay. So when I see videos of the serious play, there's always like a plate and there's a lot of weird stuff going on on this plate. Are you then building, like one I saw was this Luca guy, which was interviewed by a friend of mine. He showed that he was having like Lego heads, and then he built with flex tubes, etc. And that was like the brain of whatever it was. He didn't explain all the different steps, but I'm like, so how does this then work? When you see Lego serious play or something, it's like you have these different things. So how do you build? Is it your client which goes and takes whatever bricks they have and puts them on that board to find a solution, or how do then the Lego bricks work for that Lego serious play?
So Lego serious play is about building, right, and building knowledge. But what we use to represent the knowledge is the use of metaphors. So people will build maybe heads and cables, and that is a metaphor for a brain, right? Maybe even more, it's a metaphor for, I don't know,
a data center,
or teasing the brain, or maybe a data center, right? So when you give bricks to a participant, at the beginning, they will not be able to understand. If I tell you, here are bricks, build the metaphor of a challenge that you have at work, right? You will be like, what? So that's why skills building is fundamental, right? Because it helps you understand that, hey, maybe with this I can show more with the use of metaphors, right? Oh, so maybe it's about, I don't know, so maybe it's about, oh, I don't know, creating super great ideas, right?
Yeah. So for the audio listeners, he just put a Lego man with a yellow transparent brick on top of the
brick
head.
on top.
Yeah.
So participants will just start building. They will, of course, through the skills building, we frame the people in a nice way so that they can find it comfortable to build the metaphors. But it could be something like this, right? It could be something like, okay, so we need to, I don't know, whatever, right? Move
production to a new country.
so move faster, right?
Oh,
so things need to move faster, right? So there's like a little turbine, right?
Yeah.
And think differently and offer growth opportunities to everyone.
Yeah, so you have like flowers or trees or something for growth.
In the hand. So it's about giving.
Oh.
Right? But these are metaphors that are not written on a wall. These are metaphors that I just came up with.
Yeah. So that means every customer, every client you have will build completely different.
Absolutely. They build completely different. They create their own metaphors. I don't know what it means until they share them.
Oh, so you let them build and then so
let's go for the core process. So the core process is a 4-step process. When you ask a question as a facilitator, where the participants build the answer, and after they've built their answer, they will share their answer. And then we can also ask more questions to the model to see if there's something else that maybe we can unlock. So maybe I can ask something like, does it mean anything that the minifigure is in the middle of the vase? Because humans must be in the center or whatever, right?
So people might build something and then they share the answer, and then you as a facilitator going like, yeah, but why, as you now say, why is the person in the middle? And then
so
the clients will start right? And then they start thinking like, oh, and then they come up with answers.
Maybe they just say no, right? Does it mean anything that the minifigure is in the middle? They may say no, and that's fine, right? Because it doesn't need to mean anything. But maybe they just forgot, or maybe they really didn't connect it at that specific moment, right? So maybe we can ask a little bit more questions to unlock more. So that's the 4-step core process. So asking a question, letting people build their answers, sharing their answers, and asking more questions to the models.
Okay.
So yes, if you don't, the meaning doesn't come from the model. The meaning comes from the story that the participants share, right?
Yeah, it's like paintings, right? When you look at the paintings, the painter had some kind of ideas, and that's whatever is going on. It looks different from two people having the same idea to share. It looks completely different. And so why is it working so well with this Lego play, this Lego serious play, to unlock solutions which people are not aware of? I mean, it sounds like the people are coming up with their own solutions. You as a facilitator just help them on the way to find the solutions to the problem, to the need they want to solve.
We just ask the questions and create a space.
Yeah. And but why is it working so well with the Lego bricks? Why not using paper and drawing or whatever?
So there's a lot of science behind this, but there's also an element of how well constructed the Lego brick is, right? So in terms of science, there's a lot of science, and we could talk for hours about it, but there's this thing related to the hand and brain connection, right? That our hands are deeply connected to our brains. And by building in the real world, we build in our hands. And by using our hands, we connect different parts of our brains. So this allows us to really unlock those things that we're not really connected on a day-to-day basis, right? So there's one aspect of that. There's also an aspect of listening to everyone's story and listening to everyone's opinion that really creates this opportunity to learn and understand different points of view. There's also this flow nature. As we grow in flow, our full attention is deeply in what we're doing at that specific moment. So we're giving all our bandwidth to finding a solution. So there are different things that's feeding into how we can really unlock these deep, powerful answers, right? The use of metaphors allow us to think in radical new ways, right? So all these things are the science that feeds into how we unlock the knowledge. Listening, building, playing, creating the safe space to play. So the play is super important because it allows me to know that I am in a space where I cannot be wrong. Therefore, I allow myself to really say what I need to say. So all this helps to unlock the knowledge, unlock the potential. But there's another aspect which is related to the technical aspect of this brick. Because in a way, it's super easy to build with Lego bricks, right? In a way, right? Of course, some might struggle at the beginning, but in a way, it's super easy. And you can just put back in and take apart, right? Super easily, right? So that means that if I'm building with bricks and I don't like something that I see, I just take it away. And super fast, I can add something differently. And I can do this super fast, allowing my brain to explore multiple ideas super fast without seeing where was my mistake. If drawing can be harder, and if you think you're wrong and you try to erase what you've drawn, you will see that and it will take longer. The same with other elements like plastilene, right? So plastilene is super hard to create sculptures out of plastilene. That's super hard. So people will find it difficult to put into plastilene what they have in their heads. But with this, it's super easy. And not only that, because it's super easy to move, maybe just by seeing something and letting your hands and brain connect, you will find the answer from just looking at the model. This 3D knowledge thing, right? The thinking in 3D. Oh, so maybe I see this, but then no. It's actually like this. So the 3D, yeah. And this is a big insight that can happen in like less than a second.
Yeah, and what you just did for the ones that are only listening is there's like this bridge kind of element from Lego.
Yeah, in the minifigure head, right?
Yeah, first the figure was standing on, and then Jack was putting it on top to one side, and now it's looking in the front, and I'm just thinking of an elephant and a rhino. And in my head, it was like, no, you cannot do that. And when you play with Lego, children are actually building things like that, right? You give them Lego and you're like, okay, this is what you have to do as a grown-up, even though you want to be creative. And then they come and put these bricks on top of the figures. I'm like, what are you doing? But I can see that this is kind of unlocking some other things when you do that. At least it has been irritating me to see you do that. But on the other hand, I had to laugh about myself. Why do you get irritated?
So maybe I built this, right? So in a building process, right? I could be like this, building on top of the bridge and thinking, oh, maybe standing on top of the bridge, helping people cross. And then, well, no, maybe the bridge is in the head and it's creating this bridge with people. No, actually I do this, right? So the bridge move forward. But then I see maybe my brain sees the elephant. Oh no, it's actually about being the elephant, the leader of the group that moves people, right? So actually that, just by looking at this, my brain connected with something radically different, right?
Yeah, and for everyone, it's a different thing, right? Images and sounds and smells are different. One question I had in the step is, like you said, the 100-100 method. That means when you ask them, right, the question, and they start to build the answer. So every single person is having a little square and Lego bricks, and they start to build for themselves. And then after that, they share that, or is that kind of like a teamwork? If it's for a team where they talk together and start to build the set, or is every person working on a little whatever?
So there's bricks.
And the plates, right? These big plates you can put the bricks on.
Yeah, you don't need to use the plates. I mean,
no.
So you can. So we're very intentional on how we. That's a more technical and deep question in terms of the technique, right? But I mean, plates are there, right? In general, the main rule is that we're not necessarily like you should build here, right? Because it makes it harder for them. At some point, we might ask people to build it, but in general, we don't, right? So plates are there, and if they want to use this because they feel that that's nicer and easier, that's fine, right? But what is important is, so that's just the thing that I want to mention, right? About the use of plates. Some people might use them, some might not. Most people do because it feels easier. But I'm intentional on when I want them to, when I make it a rule to use it. That's a better way to put it. Now, as I told you, you do your skills building. And then you do, when you start a workshop, you start with an 81. 81 is building an individual model. So that means that every individual builds a model of their own. And you said 100 and 100. So to make sure that this is 100 and 100 method, we need to start from each individual building their own knowledge, their own potential individually, right? If I start from a shared model without the individual sharing their own voice, some people will not have a chance to put their voice on the shared model. Therefore, it will not be 100 and 100. That's just an example of another technique, but it applies to all the techniques. So by doing the individual models, I'm making sure that everyone's voice is on the table. So yes, you can do shared model buildings, but it will start from the individual building their own first. And then it will turn into something shared.
Okay, yeah. So that was in my head.
No, and it's a good question because it's a super important. It's a way that we're showing people this is how much we care about this 100 and 100 thing. So to make sure that this is really 100, 100, we want everyone's voice in the table. So that's why we don't go directly to the shared model, because if we go directly to the shared model, some might just stand there afraid, right?
Yeah, but that's anyone who has been in a work with meetings knows that there are some people that just don't share for whatever shame, fear, whatever reason they have, right? Awesome. So for whom is it we already talked about, and now there's like this. You said it's for teams, individuals, and organizations. When it's for an organization, who are you then working with? Is this like the strategic? Is it like the board of managers, or is it individual depending on the company organization that they just pick up some people?
So we use organizational issues, right? As rather than organization. So I just said organizations because it's fast, but to be more specific, it's so we work as organizational issues, and organizational issues can happen anywhere in the organization, right?
So it could be top management, it could be the team. Okay, I was just thinking like, okay, who is then working with? So it's basically also like a team. It's that, and individuals. So do you have a lot of individuals which come to you guys and say, hey, I have a problem. I do not know where I'm in life, for example, and I want to find out my passion, or where should I go job-wise or whatever. Do you have things like that as well?
So I've done it for sure, with purpose development and things like that. But I guess that, so each facilitator typically focuses on a specific area, right? Some are more focused on individuals, some are more focused on teams, some are more focused on organizational issues. So coaches will probably do more of one-to-one workshops, or I don't know, maybe therapists, whatever, right? So I guess that those facilitators get more of those requests. As Trivium, we're more focused on organizational issues, so strategy and leadership, right, and operations. So therefore, the requests that we have are more into more strategy related. That doesn't mean that we don't get the other kind of request, but we mainly focus on these other organizational issues.
Okay, so now how do I formulate that question in my head? So when you want to, now you said you're soon going to be 18 trainers, but so you have many more facilitators.
Well, we've trained thousands of facilitators around the world.
Okay, so there's thousands of facilitators.
Yeah.
Okay. And what does it mean to be a facilitator? Does it, as you mentioned, just therapists and coaches would have more one-on-one. Does it mean you might have like whatever? Yeah, when you talk about therapists, that think of like trauma therapist, which says I want to be a facilitator, so they are trained by one of your trainers, and then they say I have the certification of legoseriousplay as facilitator, and I offer that besides my NLP and whatever other coaching or therapy I do.
Yeah.
And then they're just like a one-person facilitator.
Yeah.
And they could also be I just ask, right, to kind of also I'm curious.
No, it's a great question. So I laughed because I was thinking also of how to connect with something different with that answer. So I mean, typical facilitators or people who get trained as facilitators, coaches, consultants, organizational development specialists, HR professionals, educators, sometimes some therapists, right? Not a lot, but sometimes, right? So they probably want a new tool that can really help them accomplish things that they're not able to accomplish, right? Sometimes they just want a new tool to offer a new tool to their clients, right? So sometimes it's, I need something, I need to innovate my services. So maybe I can now offer this tool. But the people who succeed in legoseriousplay are not the ones who have, look at my new tool. Like they show their clients their new tool. They just have they're better at doing what they do. So of course they have a new skill, but their clients are not buying tools. Their clients are buying solutions. I want to be a better leader or whatever. I want to build a better strategy with my team. So as a consultant, I have different tools that can help me do that with my clients, right? But maybe I see that with this client, this works super nice, and legoseriousplay will be ideal for them. So then I come to the session with the legoseriousplay, right? I offer them that possibility. But with some clients, maybe legoseriousplay is not the best fit. It might be, right? So I use another skill set to solve that. But yes, a lot of people I want to become a facilitator, to have that diploma, that certificate that will allow me to offer this kind of service or offer this kind of solution to my clients. Maybe their teams, maybe it's, I don't know, there's some people that use legoseriousplay on focus groups, whatever, right? Because they want to create something different on their focus group. But there's other kind of clients, which are the in-house clients. So maybe it's the organizational development team in a specific company, and then they have a specific program in mind, right? So they have a 2-year digital transformation change program, and they want to like learn this to use it on the whole process, right? That's also something that happens.
Yeah, so that's the I guess Lego has a lot of facilitators. Or
I don't know. There are some, yes, but I don't know how many or if that's a big number.
yeah, I just could imagine, but you answered my question, right? So it's like in-house, so some companies will send out some people to be facilitators. So
That's why I laughed, because I was thinking of the in-house.
yeah, and I talk about, because when I said one-on-one, you said therapists and coaches, and then the first thing when I look here was therapist, and I'm like, okay, yeah. Why not? I mean, going really as a therapist, going really deeper in a person's psychology, because you say with using your hands and the brain, the connections are so different. And
yeah,
I mean, is there any experience in your case or something you talk about as trainer where there was such a big aha moment for a client or a person doing this play, or something that often happens? I mean, now you said the warm-up, right? If you do the warm-up right, then you have a successful coaching session or workshop.
Yeah.
But this interaction with the hands and the mind and the reconnection that people, like something you didn't expect happening, and then you started.
I mean, that's one of the things that I love more about Lego Serious Play, because it happens all the time in different stages. It's not like I know that it will happen at this moment, right? So in different stages of a workshop, it can happen, but it happens, right? So what happens is that participants sometimes they don't have a clear answer, right? Because if they had a clear answer, they would not be doing this, right? So they don't have a clear answer, right? And they're like a little bit struggling, and they're like, oh, right? So where do I start? And maybe they start, right? Because a little bit, but they're still like, and then you see them like, so they put something on the base. I know that there's some people listening, right? So they're like, they have this phase of maybe thinking or struggling, and they don't know what they're doing, and they just put a little piece of brick on the base plate, right? And then their eyes open, right? And it's like, wow. And they see this new solution like immediately, like just by adding the brick. So it's like the answers appear in your hands. That's the magical aspect of Lego Serious Play, because you're like, well, and I've seen this a lot, and I've seen this with a client, and I've seen it. Well, of course, the people I train are also clients, but I've seen this on a client work, and I've seen this on a training, that they struggle a little bit because the question is hard, it's not super easy, and it's not super clarity, but then just by building, they put something, and then suddenly their eyes open, and they just saw the answer, they saw the solution, they saw the thing they were looking for. That's like really, really amazing.
Yeah. So how do you feel when you see that?
I love it, because I felt that. I've personally felt that. That's probably what got me hooked into this. I saw the magic of LSP because I had no clue what to build, and I was just building, and somehow I saw the answer materialize in my hand, and I was like, wow, this is powerful. So when I see this, I just love it. So
trying to go back to what we talked about here, like you were a magician, you had this friend, whatever his name is now, Stuart Nolan, which is very clever, intelligent, and also a magician. And he talked about that. So you went to a course. Did you go to a course to be trained as a facilitator, or did you just go? Yeah. So you went directly, Lego Serious Play, that LSP, that sounds like me. I want to be a facilitator. You went there, and then...
And Stuart told me, I got trained by Per.
Yeah. And did you also get trained by Per, or did you? And then you went there, Per trained you, and you were building, and then you had this aha moment.
Yeah. And I said, I love this. And then I started, and then just my life took not a completely turn, but it was going into one direction, and then like this opened, right? Because I thought that Lego Serious Play was just gonna be another tool and not the thing that I do.
So it is you, actually. It's basically, I mean, all your description of curiosity, mysterious, magic, imagination. So that was building up in your hand, or what?
Yeah. What I built? Well, yeah. Definitely. Yeah. There was a magical moment. It's super hard to explain, right? But it was a magical moment that led to this. Oh, I want to do more with this, and my imagination just exploded at that specific magical moment. And I said, I love this. I want to keep doing. I want to do more of this than I expected that I wanted to do. So I wanted to do this, but I never expected to do Lego Serious Play like as my core thing in my life, right? So that's how from that training with Per, that's how I built a relationship with him as my mentor, and as my friend, and eventually as a business partner, right? So it kept growing and growing and growing and growing. From leaving it as a user to doing it as a facilitator to teaching people how to do it as a trainer.
Okay, so so how did your living space change because you are now a Lego Serious Play facilitator? You have all kind of Lego everywhere, or?
No. So here there's a Lego T-Rex.
Oh, you have a T-Rex.
Yeah,
it's difficult to see.
I know, but there's a T-Rex on top. But I think that's the only one that I have like showcasing. I mean, there are two kind. I loved Lego when I was a child. Right? I loved Lego, and that's one of the reasons I got so intrigued with Lego Serious Play. And I do love Lego today, but I don't consider myself such a Lego fan. I'm more of a Lego Serious Play fan. So, of course, I love Lego, and I love building Legos, and I love getting eventually some Lego bricks. I do have my bricks for my workshops and my trainings, but I'm not collecting Lego sets because I'm more in love with the learning and the imagination of Lego Serious Play than just being full of Lego kits, right? So I love it, but I am not those big hardcore fans that will put all the house with Lego models, right?
I don't know. It could be that you get like all these things, but
I do. Like I have the T-Rex, and in my daughter's room there are more, and I have like these small things, right? So maybe in the fridge or on the Christmas tree, I have something, right? Because I love it, and Lego is part of my life, but I feel more closer to Lego Serious Play.
Okay. No, and I had another picture seeing you. I don't know. I've not been traveling so much lately. Unfortunately, that's what I thought when I'm an engineer, I'm going to travel the world. I'm like, I got an engineering job and then I stopped traveling. But that's also, it's already 20 years now. 18 years ago. Before that, I was in Ecuador, in Vietnam, 2 or 3 times in Canada. So I haven't really been overseas, but I just saw you. I don't know why an airport comes to mind, but airport where you have the corner with the Lego bricks. Are you the one which like, oh, there are Lego bricks sitting down, like let's work on our, or are you just like, I'm in vacation, Lego is gone, and all these things are?
No, so typically, if I'm traveling, it's because if I'm traveling, it's because I'm doing a training. I'm delivering a training, and it's a 4-day process, intense as hell, right? It's super intense. So the only thing that I don't want to see are Legos. Are Lego bricks. It's like, okay, I'm enough. That's enough. I mean, I love it. I'm just kidding. I'm being a little bit extreme with that. But so yeah. Yeah, no. I think that when my daughter was younger, we played more with Lego. Right now, she's in an age where she's 10, right? So she's not playing with Lego that much. So on a day-to-day basis, so I always have Legos like close to me, Lego bricks close to me. And I'm probably fiddling more. This is probably what I do more. I'm fiddling, and what I use the Lego bricks to think. So sometimes I struggle with some specific issue, maybe, and I just build it to make sure what I'm gonna say or write or think. So I use it as my own thinking tool. It's not super Lego serious play, but it's just using this as a thinking tool. So okay. I have one.
Yeah. Instead of other people will have a piece of paper next to them and a pencil, and they just write. You take the Lego bricks and you just work on your ideas like that.
So I use the Lego brick to work, to go deeper in my ideas. I use the pen and paper to do lists. So when this is like a to-do list, pen and paper, when it's about, okay, so this is specific topic about, I don't know.
Yeah, growing the business or whatever.
Or sending a proposal to a client. So what are what's this client need, right? So maybe, they need this, right? Maybe I should put my proposal closer to whatever, right?
Yeah, it's a thinking support. That's what I mean. Some people use the paper and just journal, and whatever comes out, start writing and writing and writing and writing. It's not for list making. It's basically to get the things out. And again, it's the physical, as you said, the hand to brain connection. So for some, and that's why people say, if you have issues in your life and you want to come on and you're like trying to figure out, don't use the keyboard, use a pen and a paper, because the physical work helps you to.
Absolutely. I mean, I have a lot of journals here, and they are like really true.
They're also filled.
Yeah, they're super filled. Like, look at this.
Wow, they look actually nicer than mine, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I've been a little bit conscious. Of course, the ones that don't look nicer are the ones. Sometimes, if I write something in a not super nice way, I'll probably then transfer it to download the information to somewhere nicer. And when I'm writing directly there, I'm being a little bit more conscious. Of course, there's always mess, right? So look at this. Well, this is a lot, right? No, but I have some messy things. Probably near the end. Like, this looks a little bit more messy, right?
Yeah, so for the listeners, we just saw like 5 or 6 notepads with drawings and lists and text, and I couldn't read anything, so
yeah, and it's not that secret, so
but super. I mean, yeah, we are almost 2 hours in, so yeah, for me it was also the questions: what is creativity for you, what is innovation for you? But I think we let that probably for another interview. I have the feeling I would love to interview about, magic and your cooking, and then probably we could just go general instead of you using Lego play on the side, and go into what is creativity, innovation for you, to answer those questions. But let's go here now for the people which were staying with us. What would be a call to action for the listeners, which listen now to Jack Reimon talks about Lego Serious Play? What is the call to action?
So I will go back to what you were mentioning when we started this conversation, at least mentioning to me. So I would go to trivium.international and join the newsletter.
Okay. And I'll put all the links in the show notes so the people.
I mean, I think that I mean, it's difficult to know who's listening, right? So I can tell you, okay, go and try Lego Serious Play. Oh, become a facilitator. I mean, hire a facilitator. That's like too broad, right? So maybe just go into the website, get the newsletter, and learn more about it.
I just add, if you have Legos at home, just take the bricks, and if you're stuck in your head and you don't have a solution, just play and see what's coming out. Just don't have anything in head. Just put the bricks together.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's a meditative work as well. Are you relaxing when you do that? When you're stressed, actually? When I think of it, that you just put the bricks together, kind of like a meditation or stress release?
Yeah. So this is really related to flow, which I think is a meditative state, right? So yeah, definitely. Being in flow is the answer to happiness. I think that's a pretty good call to action. Go and get the Flow book by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi and read it.
Mihai, okay. So we have 2 books you mentioned. We will put them in the show notes. So people.
What's the other one?
That was The Magician Guy. Profile for the Future.
Oh yeah, no, Arthur C. Clarke.
Yeah, and the Flow book from Michael.
Michal, yeah. A weird Hungarian name. Difficult to pronounce, yeah. So, but that's a great book. And okay. That's all about being in,
being in flow.
But I guess let's do it more broadly. Go out and read something.
From go and get the newsletters from Trivium to read the book about flow and being in flow, just go and read.
Yeah.
Super.
Be curious.
be curious. So is there anything I forgot to ask that you think like I want to get that out around Lego Serious Play? Or
I mean, perhaps. There's a lot, and also I felt like I would love to keep talking about creativity and innovation and magic and cooking and flow and meditation and
we do that on another show. We do that on another show, definitely.
And I would love that. And to be honest, I think that you probably have a call with Per, so you'll get more depth. Now that you know these things about Lego Serious Play, maybe you can go and have more specific questions for Per. So that will also lead to interesting new things about Lego Serious Play that you can share with everyone who's listening.
Yeah, especially because Per was there in the beginning, right? So he has a different approach and a different mindset. And he's staying, and you're Peruvian. So you think different. It's a different culture. You grew up different, and how we look at the world is influenced by where we grew up or how we are surrounded. Super. Is there any other book or show or documentary or something you want people to listen to, which is up to mind?
So I really like books. I think that, of course, the Building a Better Business with the Lego Serious Play book can also be interesting. That's written by Per and Robert. That talks about the core process and the application techniques. That's a great book. And recently you mentioned documentary, and this is a book that somehow I relate to what's happening in the brain. So I have this concept that we didn't explore, that I call it tripping on LSP. Okay. And there's this book called How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan. It's about, yeah. And there's this documentary right now going on Netflix, right?
Is it? Oh, I should watch it then.
Yeah.
So you tried out what he said, or what?
So not with all of the psychedelics.
Because I listened to the Tim Ferriss interview when he finished the book. He was on so many podcasts, and I think he tried everything there is.
No, I haven't.
No, but Michael Pollan, and he said he did not even smoke a joint before he wrote the book. And then he went to all these different, ayahuasca, psilocybin, LSD, whatever. And he said some of the things were really dangerous. And
absolutely no.
But it just changed him. It just opened himself up. And he thought he was an open person, right?
Yeah. I really like how he writes. I really like his material. I really like this book. There's another one called Your Mind This is Your Mind on Plants, which is more about caffeine and cannabis and some other things. But what I like about this book is not about the fact of what psychedelics can do to your, or what the experience of psychedelics. It's more about what happens in the brain and this relation to the safe space. So when you take the psychedelics, it's really important for not to having a bad trip, to be in a safe space, right? So it's really important. So that's, for me, that's the skills building, right? The skills building allows to create this safe space for you don't get a bad trip on the LSP, on the legoseriousplay. So I just thinking differently and having this new insight in your brain, I think that's what's happening is very similar to what Michael Pollan says. Yeah,
I remember I should actually interview him because I have two.
That would be nice.
I have From Depression to Expression after I broke my hand and the Oliver Schirach show, but somehow they're overlapping. I had now on Sunday I have a talk about breaking traditional or ancestral trauma, through whatever different modalities.
Yeah.
And I had 3 interviews now. Actually, a lot of interviews with men. I'm surprised because I had more interviews with women, and suddenly now I have like one man after the other. And one is talking about, getting. He was nominated for Canada's best entrepreneur. He was Ontario's best entrepreneur. He didn't say which year. And he actually didn't go for it because he had like an awakening. He had a lot of ideas and he was creating, and he just saw solutions everywhere. So he was creating one business after the other. And at 55, 7 years ago, he realized he's just a vessel for the ideas.
Okay.
The ideas just come through him. So do I bring this podcast on the Oliver Schirach show, or do I bring it From Depression to Expression? Because, the depression, the compression, not being in the flow is what makes it so sad, and then being in flow is where you can live again, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
And now you, at the end of this show, you start to touch on certain elements, right? Which I try also, like how to be in flow, how to be happy, how to not be depressed, how to not be in angst, anxiety, and all these kind of limiting black. And Michael Pollan has been talking there in, I think, a microdosic LSD, or no, a higher LSD trip. He saw himself evaporating in butterflies, and he realized.
I mean, I haven't done that.
No. But Michael Pollan in one of his interviews talks about that. Like he just dissolved, and he realized he's everything and nothing, or something like that. I don't remember what he said, but he lost the fear of death by that, from that trip, or something in that direction. or the ego death or something like that.
Exactly. So the ego detachment thing, right?
Yeah.
So, which is, I mean, I think that you will really like the flow. And that's a great connector with happiness and with Lego Serious Play and with this. So it's a beautiful, beautiful book. It's probably one of my favorite books. Yeah, it's so insightful and so, I don't know, important or basic for your day-to-day life. And it's not a hard read. It's long, but it's not a hard read. So beautiful book, the Flow book.
Okay, I cannot help it. I'm doing an intuition quest at the moment. So go with whatever comes up. How did that book, The Flow, come into your hands?
Because Lego Serious Play is based on that.
Sorry?
Lego Serious Play is based on one of the science behind Lego Serious Play. It's flow.
Okay, so because you went into the Lego
Yes, I learned
Play,
about flow.
You got to read the book.
So as I got into Lego Serious Play, I learned about flow.
Okay.
But then I got especially interested in flow. So I started reading more and more about flow. That's a basic book. That's a book that started everything around flow. There's new authors that are talking about flow, like Kotler talking about the art of the impossible. And there's this guys that talk about flow more as maybe what's the word there? Like not productivity, but high potential kind of development work and stuff like that. So of course, Lego Serious Play opened the door to flow, and I just went a little bit down the rabbit hole into the flow thing. A little bit, not super deep. Not Michael Pollan, yeah.
Alice in
Michael
Wonderland.
But I really like the book, so.
Yeah, let's stop it here. Otherwise, we are going to lose all the listeners.
I hope not.
What is going on? We talked about Lego Serious Play. Now you start talking about flow and ego death and whatever not. So if anyone that listens says, okay, I have a little business and I want to reach out to Jack or Per. You mentioned Trivium many times, but where can people reach out to you?
So the best way would be LinkedIn. So I'm on LinkedIn, Per is on LinkedIn, Trivium is on LinkedIn. So of course, LinkedIn will be a great way to reach out. So Jack Reimon, as you did, exactly, actually. So you connected, I answered, and we're here, right? So I think that's the best way to connect.
And that was a very fast, short period, right? I'm just like, oh, you have time. And Per and you both, Per was asking me first why I'm reaching out to him. And then I wrote, and then I wrote to you, and then Per wrote back, and then we're like back and forth. And then, 5 days later, we are here having the interview. Or something
it was
like
Monday. It was on Monday when we connected.
Yes, and I think I reached out on Friday after the newsletter because I just felt like, okay, fuck it. I'm so multi-culti, I'm so generalistic. I do not know where the fuck I go with life. I do all these things, a little bit like you, and I'm like, I need to reach out to these people.
But I really like that and appreciate that. The only way to make things happening is just doing things.
Yeah, and I can see we continue going that rabbit hole. But let's finish this for the show here. And yeah, people, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, share, connect, send questions, and we will honor it. And with that, thank you for listening so far. And thank you, Jack, for being a super guest.
Thank you for the invitation. Bye, everyone.